The United States votes in crucial midterm elections today. The polls will decide who will run the Congress's two chambers. The House of Representatives has 435 seats in total, all of which are up for grabs. In the Senate, around a third are being contested. The results will set the tone for the next 2 years of Joe Biden's term. A strong Republican showing could upend many domestic and foreign policy plans. But governors' mansions are also up for grabs in 36 states. State-level lawmakers, secretaries of state and attorneys general will also be decided. Issues related to the economy are a top priority for many voters, but democracy and election authenticity are also under the spotlight. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump are rooting for their party's candidates, even as speculation grows about the 2024 presidential election.
Today we face an inflection point, one of those moments that comes around every 3 or 4 generations. We know in our bones that our democracy is at risk, and we know that this is your moment to defend it, preserve it, protect it, choose it. Democracy is on the ballot. Political violence and intimidation are on the rise all across America. And you remember January 6th, the angry mob that stormed the U.S. Capitol, attacked law enforcement, hunted down elected officials, erected gallows to hang Vice President Pence. Well, West's opponent supported that mob.
Donald Trump says he'll be making a very big announcement on the 15th of November.
What are you talking about?
But not to detract from tomorrow's very important, even critical election. I'm going to be making a very big announcement on Tuesday, November 15th at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida.
Well, let's talk now to Kadira Pethiagoda, geopolitics expert, author and former Brookings Fellow, joining me live now from London. Kadira, thanks for being with us. Republicans are sounding optimistic ahead of polling day. Should they be?
Yes, they should be. The Democrats are likely to lose the House and the Senate. And this has implications for the next presidential election as well as for the decades to come.
And in terms of the various votes we're seeing up and down the country, there have already been some concerns raised, particularly by Republicans, about the integrity of some of these votes. Is that a theme we're going to see in the next few days, or will that depend on how well the Republicans do?
Yes, I think it'll depend on how well the Republicans do. But I think the likelihood of questioning votes, I think, is an interesting issue, because what you see is the Trumpian, the MAGA kind of segment of the Republican Party is now actually the dominant base. And they're the ones who questioned the last election's results. So going forward, the better they do, the more likely you're going to see challenges to the standard processes of US democracy and a more questioning of the dominant sort of narratives.
Where would Joe Biden go next if indeed we do see Republican progress in the Senate and in the House? How difficult would the next 2 years be for him as president?
It will definitely be difficult from a procedural perspective. Foreign policy, which is an area he's really prioritized, and which is part of the reason why the Democrats will probably lose in the midterms, that will be really frustrated because you see the type of Republicans that are doing the best are the Trumpian type of Republicans, and they're the ones who are the most critical of the US's position on the Ukraine war and the prioritization of foreign policy and Ukraine over domestic issues like inflation, the cost of living, So he's going to see some real, he's going to face some potential challenges in terms of getting his foreign policy agenda across. But I think in a political sense, if Joe Biden's smart, he'll take note that, focusing on these sort of niche issues like abortion, the January 6th issue, and Ukraine are not what ordinary Americans care about. They care about the cost of living. They care about energy prices, food prices. And these are the things he needs to focus more on if the Democrats are going to have a chance at the next presidential election.
Well, on that note, finally on Donald Trump promising that big announcement in the next few days, is there any way that that announcement is anything other than I'm running?
Well, I highly doubt it will be anything other than that. I think Donald Trump really savors being the opposition. I think he loves, and I think that's what he's good at. He's not so good at governing, but he is sometimes good at pointing out the flaws in the existing system. And that's why people rally around him. And that's what his base loves. And I think now where you've had, an administration that is looking far away, looking towards Europe and the war in Ukraine and constantly focusing on that, whilst Donald Trump talks about putting America first and looking out for his base and his ordinary people's interests. I think that's really where he thrives on, being in that political space. And I think he'll really enjoy the contest. So he'll definitely be announcing, I think.